Hello, everyone. My name is Kai Parker, and I am a recent Fulbright, the 2019-2020 cycle, and I went to Chile as a research grant. And Leanne asked me to talk to you a little bit about the experience. She had some interview questions, of which my wife Isabel is going to ask them, and she also went to Chile, so she could probably be interviewed as well, but in this time she'll be just asking the questions. So with that,
So, Kai, what made you decide to apply for the Fulbright program? What, if any, barriers stood in your way, and how did you overcome them?
so I decided to apply for the Fulbright grant because it's a very unique opportunity in my world. Most of the time, it's very difficult to break out of the academic research system that you're part of. There's not a lot of grants that allow you to leave the US. Most of them are in this region. So the Fulbright was the chance to go to a new place and experience a new country, a new way of doing research, a new continent, a new place. And so that was really one of the main motivations for applying for it. I also got to really direct the research in a really individual way that was very appealing to me. The barriers that were there for applying, one of which was the language. Spanish is very much the only language that's spoken in Chile, and so there was some difficulty for me in terms of preparing to be ready to jump into that with Spanish, which is not my native language. So there's more worrying about it, I would say, was the barrier. And the applying for the grant is very different than what I'm used to, which I guess would be a barrier. I'm used to more NSF style grants, which are more focused on the research and have a very specific format of how you go through them. And the Fulbright is different. So there's more preparing for what they want and what you need to do to be able to get a Fulbright and be accepted by both the US and the government you're applying to for the grant.
Great. So, can you briefly describe your research project? What were some of the highlights and challenges?
So what I wrote my grant on was tsunami research, tsunami hazard research specifically, and it was based off using some of my research at Oregon State in a new context, specifically for tsunamis, which are really important along Chile. It's one of the most tectonically active countries in the world. So that's something the government, and there's a lot of need for tsunami research. That's not what I ended up doing, actually, which is, at least from my experience, was fairly common. Most of the people who applied in Chile ended up doing something slightly different, if not very different, from what they had applied for. And what I ended up doing was shoreline change hazard analysis, which turned out to be there's actually more of a need for that than tsunami research. There had been a lot of recent focus on that, a lot of researchers looking at tsunamis, and while shoreline change was kind of this gap of knowledge that was actually causing more damage to communities than the kind of periodic tsunamis, more of a constant hazard. So there was a lot of flexibility on my part to adapt to what the need was and what was available in terms of resources, which was one of the challenges. We're used to a certain level of resources, both for me, a lot of like computing resources I'm used to and data, things like that. And it's going to be different and most certainly than what you're used to. And for me, that was definitely a challenge to adapt my style of doing research to a new system and a new language and a new tempo. All of those things was somewhat of a challenge. And there's also specific challenges that I'm sure everyone would end up having, but for us, there was a bit of government upheaval while we were there that shut things down for quite a while. So that I would say that was a challenge. to put it mildly. Yes.
Wonderful. So what advice would you offer to someone considering applying for Fulbright?
Oh, a whole bunch of advice. I don't know if any of it's good, but definitely think really carefully about the country you want to go to and the project you're going to do, and especially your sponsor. I would definitely not suggest trying to fit yourself into kind of a situation that's not correct. So you're really going to be dropped into, at least for me, I was really dropped into a whole new world where I didn't know the right people to talk to, how to get things done, even to the stage of getting visas and governmental type stuff. It's really helpful to have someone who's there backing you and helping you. So I would really strongly suggest making sure that your sponsor is really willing to help you and commit to your time there and helping you through all of the different difficulties, whether it's from finding housing to, for us, just getting an ID card, carnet, which is you need for everything. And that was a process that without help would have been pretty much unnavigable. So make sure that you have help. And other advice, definitely go for it. It was a fantastic experience in all ways. It was difficult at times, but now that I'm back, I think about it all the time. There's not really a day that goes by that I don't think about what it was like living there. And go for it. Make sure that you're writing a Fulbright application, not a NSF application. They're really interested in you as a person as well as your research. So make sure you're targeting it in the right way. Make sure you're writing something that's going to be helpful for the country that you're applying to. I chose tsunami research specifically because it's important to Chile. So I think that's important. You're there as well to help the country you're going to, and they'll really appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to cut myself off. I could keep rambling probably indefinitely about Chile and the Fulbright, but I will let some other people talk. I hope that some of my words were helpful to you all, and definitely go for it. Go apply for Fulbright and go see some other cool places in the world. Right, goodbye.